Hello all. This is a pre-recording of the PDM session titled Strategies to Support Those Last-Minute Learners. So what I found over a number of years is I adopt these strategies and I deliver it to all my students, but it's really there to help support learners who are very focused in the last few weeks when we want them to be really structuring their revision now. So these are the key things I do with the learners and really to help push those habits for learning. So I get them to list, or I list for them, everything they need to know for the 3 exams that they will have within sociology. So I'll show you, hoping Screencastify will share my document. So this is what I give them. And I give them an electronic version of this. So I give them a content list of everything that they need for the component 1 exam in sociology here, for the component 2 and the component 3. It's all color coordinated because I give them a color coded pack and grid, and anything in bold is a very big grid with a lot of content in it that they need to be aware of. So I give them a content list, and they've got a list of absolutely everything they need to know prior to their exams. That's the first thing. I list everything. The second thing I do is I get them to calculate, or we calculate together, exactly how many weeks they've got until the exam. So it's on the same document. I then go, right, okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, and I put this on the board. So what they've got in front of them is the same thing that I'm showing them on the screen. So you have got 7 weeks until you hit that component 1 exam. And then straight the week after is the component 2 exam. So in that time, you have to revise all of this content. And then I get them to physically write in what grids they will do each week to cover all of the content until they hit that component 1 and component 2. So I get them to calculate, well, actually, if you're only going to do 2 of those a week, you won't physically be able to cover all of the content until the exam. And I get them to be realistic. There's no point getting them to do class, gender, and ethnicity all in 1 week. They're massive grids. They need to do a little 15 marker, 35, maybe 30 marker grid here. So list everything, and then they calculate and organize, and they write in, and it's electronic so they can change it, exactly what's needed. After we've done that, so after we've listed everything, we've calculated, and we've partly organized, I then get them to explicitly each week, so the week of the 28th of March, write in exactly when they're going to revise gender, ethnicity, marriage, divorce. So get them to do a week by week timetable or a week by week breakdown of exactly, so they know the grids because they will have worked it out here. And then they specifically put exactly when they're going to do it. And again, I check on those kind of last minute learners that they're being realistic. If they're saying they're going to pull, I don't know, from 5 o'clock in the morning all the way through, we kind of have to be mindful. They generally need to be a bit aware about being realistic. Also, it creates conversations if they're working all weekend and having those conversations about them being very future time orientated and working out. So they do it each week for 1, 2, 3, so I think for about 3-4 weeks I get them to work it out, and I keep it as an electronic document. I do it as an assignment on the classroom, but I kind of don't really have a hand in date, so they can again keep going to it and checking. After I've done this, and I do this with all the learners in the class, after I've done that, I'm going to go back to my list everything, calculate, organize. It gets them to see they have got enough time to get through all the content, but they need to get moving and they need to have to stick to about 3 grids or 4 grids a week. We were having this conversation with a particular learner a couple of years ago, and him saying, well, I'll just do 2 of these a week, and getting him to calculate that's physically not possible. You won't be able to get through all the content in that time. I do note that I structure the second year's revision. So every week from the first week of September, I physically structure in exactly what they need to revise. So they will revise 2 grids that I choose a week for a kind of mini mock on a Friday. And I structure that for them. So I do that because I noticed that they really obviously struggle to organise their revision, and it builds in, so they'll end up covering all of the content that they need for the full paper component one mock in November. I find it's a really nice strategy that seems to help with the second years. But given that they're still, even though they've been asked to revise each one of these every single week and given a mini mock, they still need to go back through it. And again, it helps those last minute learners to see they've got enough time, but they need to get cracking. After I've done this with them, the next thing I get is I don't know how to revise. I just don't know how to do it. I've never been taught. Obviously, we didn't sit our GCSEs. So then what I do, again, with the whole class, but it's really with those last minute learners in mind. And I am finding this year more than any other year that the majority, they're in a minority if they've been able to do this by themselves because obviously of what they've been through. But then I sit them and I say, right, I want you to grab this grid and you have got 15 minutes to outline the knowledge that's on that grid or that pack, please. 15, 20 minutes, write the names, write the facts, write the formulas. And you got 20 minutes. After those 20 minutes, and I'll time them with our little electronic timer, then I will say, right, now you've got 5 minutes to test. You're going to brain dump and you're going to write down on the whiteboard everything you can remember from that piece of knowledge that you've just done from memory. Move your grids, close your books, 5 minutes. Brain dump, self-test. Then I get them, after that timer is up, to check the gaps, to go back, to go back and check where the gaps are missing. And they'll highlight where the gaps are. And again, I'm doing this in class. I'm physically modelling for them how to do it. Then I get them to retest the ones they're missing, like do a 1-word summary. I also really like giving them like a little pack of Post-its, getting them to write the name or the concept or formula they keep forgetting on one Post-it for each name or formula. And then, sorry if I teach any of your children, and then stick it around the house, stick it in, I don't know, on the fridge, to really try and retest on those names. So on one side of the Post-it would have the name or the formula, and then on the other side, they'd have the answer so they can check. And then the last thing I get them to do is I get them to apply it to an exam question. So then I'd give them 10, 15 minutes to plan an exam question from memory. And 3 of these, so number 2, number 4, number 5 are all retrieval. They're all getting them to pull the information, which is what they should be doing. We know generally what students will do, particularly if they're those kind of last minute learners or haven't got those strategies down. They will just rewrite out a beautiful summary and spend 2 hours. They won't retrieve the information. Therefore, modelling for them how to do it in a lesson is really, really important. Obviously, I'm aware that we're very content heavy and, time is really precious, but I've generally found that this will get them into those strategies and give them the support that they really, really need. Last little tip is we have about 170 names in sociology, and it's always their biggest stress. Another little tip is daily retrieval. Quite a lot of research has suggested that daily retrieval can add a grade's progress to the learners. And the Lettner system is a really good strategy. I know Mike Bowen talked about this the last time we had a face-to-face festival of education that he picked up from Wellington. It's a really good strategy. So if they like flashcards, then they have the name or term on one side of the flashcard, and then on the back, obviously, what they said or the formula, etc. And they have 1 per flashcard. They've got kind of 4 or 5 sections. 1 section's every single day. So every day they go through, they look at the name and they check, can they retrieve the information? If they can retrieve the information, it goes into the next section, which is every other day. If when they do it every other day, they can get it correct, they know they can retrieve the information from memory, so they're having to remember and check that they know it, then they can move it into the once a week section. If they can do it once a week, fantastic. It goes into the bi-weekly, and then they check it every week, or so every bi-weekly. If, however, at any point they cannot retrieve the information, it goes back to every day. Now, some of them are like, what do you mean we've got to revise every day? My argument is, try it. Evidence suggesting it really, really helps. You're saying you're struggling with these names. This is the system I'm offering you. And again, I try and do a bit of that in the lesson to give them some time to try it. Because sometimes I feel like if I give them some of, because in lesson time is ultimately, I'd argue, my time, if I give them some of my time to try it, and they find it retrieves and works, then they're more likely to do it at home. Sometimes I feel like we have to pay off giving them some of our lesson time to get them into those habits. I find that's also true of things like the brain dumps. When I've done this with the second years, I'll find that, again, some particular learners that need those strategies will say to me, I think that was pretty good. I like that. So we're just doing everything we can to support them. So these are just strategies that I have no doubt that we use. I just would recommend them for those learners that we know really need that guidance and support. I will put on the Google Classroom, our staff resource Google Classroom, a copy of what I use. So kind of a template, should you wish to use it and deliver it with your learners. It's got a bit of a delay there. So it's got, again, the weeks. Obviously, you can I'll remove the exams. But have a go. If you have any questions or any tips you too use, please let me know. And obviously, we can share it across college as well. Thank you so much for your time, folks. Bye-bye.